Welcome to homecoming week, everybody. Alongside Eric Kane, Rob Lewis, and Brent Hubbs, I'm Austin Price for the Rocky Top Roundtable on this UConn week. And, this is a game where, you have to find a way to kind of manufacture some intensity. It's a game you're a big favorite in, Brent. So how does Tennessee bring the intensity Saturday?
Well, I think you got to be mature. I mean, this is where your leadership and your maturity of your football team has to show up. You got to go get your job done, get it done early, get your work done early, and get out. I think you should have learned a lesson from the Austin Peay game, where you clearly weren't ready to play in that game. You found yourself in a 3-3 game at the end of the first quarter, to 10-point game at the half, not what anybody thought it would be. So I think the biggest thing you have to do, Austin, is you just have to be a mature football team. I like the fact that it's a noon start. I think that's good for Tennessee.
Yeah, playing those early games has been really beneficial, Rob, under Josh Heupel. They're the morning practice team, so they're used to getting up and getting out and getting their work in. Kind of works well with that noon early start.
Yeah, I would think so this week. I mean, you always wonder a little bit about the crowd. I think homecoming helps with that, but I'm with Brent. I mean, I think if you're a mature football team, you're not going to need 102,000 people in there going nuts to get motivated to go out there and take care of business. At the start of November, coming off a really good win, but you look down the last 3 weeks and some obvious challenges. So I echo Brent's point. It's about being mature this week, and I know we're going to get to it, AP, but being mature so that you can get to some youth and for the first time really all season, see what you've got.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying the right things here in the early week. We talked to some players on Monday and Tuesday, and they all said, the questions was asked, this is not an SEC game. How do you stay motivated, all that type of stuff. And they say, hey, it's the message, the preparation doesn't change week to week. Doesn't matter who we're playing. We've stressed that. We've talked about it as a team and all that. But, deep down in the back of your mind, this is not Alabama. This is not some of the other teams that have been on the schedule already. So, but you also, as Brent pointed out, you remember the Austin Peay game, and you don't want that to happen again. So, again, it's easy to say, get in, get out, let the young guys go in and play, but you got to have that right mindset all week. And so far, at least for the players, it appears they have that.
Kids love stats. They love to score touchdowns, last I checked, and pile up yards. So one would think, hey, it's a game we can do that. Let's go do it. Tennessee's quarterback situation, for all the chatter out there a few weeks ago, has really kind of calmed down. Joe Milton's really started to play well. Halsey talked about it on Tuesday, just kind of letting him run and get hit a little bit has kind of calmed him down. He's been a lot more accurate with the football.
Yeah, I think fundamentally he's been better. And I know the contact thing, Joey Halsey said, gets him going and kind of settles him into the game. And I think that's absolutely the case. But, Rob, I think the bigger thing is his footwork looks better. His eyes appear to be better. He just feels like he's starting to really get command of this offense. And I say that because I thought he played well in the first half against Alabama, and I thought he played well for 4 quarters against Kentucky.
I'll be the first to say it because I've certainly been critical of him, and a lot of people were after the Texas A&M game, after the Austin Peay game. But I give him all the credit in the world. And I think fundamentally, if you just look at it, he looks so much more comfortable, and I think you've got to give Halsey and Heupel, credit for some of that, but mainly Joe. I mean, he had to hear some of the outside noise. I don't care how much guys talk about it. In this town at that position, you can't escape it. And I give him a lot of credit for being mature, for staying focused, and I can't say enough about how poised, steady he was at Kentucky. 18 of 21 from him, and he wasn't dinking and ducking. That wasn't cheap. He was averaging over 10 yards an attempt, which is not something we've seen from him and this offense this year.
Eric, what helps that? A really good running game. And Tennessee's got a deep stable of backs. Wouldn't expect them to play long Saturday. I expect Cam Seldon to get some run and maybe a little Khalifa Keith. But Tennessee's got a nice stable to be able to just go, okay, hey, the starter's out, the second string guy's out. We can still turn to the third string guy and close out a game.
Yeah, I mean it's a luxury, and Cooper May spoke on Monday and he said, hey, he knew in spring practice over the summer fall camp that this group was going to be special because you have a great blend of athleticism, of speed, and experience. I mean, Jabari Small's played a ton. He's kind of third fiddle to the other two, at least this last week. Jalen Wright's playing at a different level. He is becoming an all-around running back. He's put on some good weight. He hasn't lost speed. His vision's been really good. And then Dylan Sampson, the way he finished, as you mentioned, just running through tacklers, bouncing off tacklers, and the confidence that the coaching staff and Joey Halsley and Josh Heupel have in Dylan Sampson to close out a game, I think it speaks volume. It was good to see this run game get back to where it was because, of course, it wasn't there against Alabama.
Jalen Wright Hubbard looks like me running to a Peter Millar sale. I mean, like, that's fantastic.
I've seen that move. I've never seen you cross the street.
You tried to tackle me when we went to the Peter Millar store over in Nashville, and I did just that. Walked right out of that arc.
You got to get out of the way.
I never saw you cross the street faster than you did that afternoon, that's for sure. Here's the amazing thing to me about the run game when I look at this, and I think it's a credit to Cooper Mays, but I also think it's a credit to the scheme and what you do. Rob, Tennessee's not been an explosive passing team, right? I mean, they're not this team they were a year ago, yet they still end up with light boxes really every game and the opportunity to run the football. You would think at some point somebody says, you know what, let's see if you can complete five deep balls on us. But nobody seems to want to do that right now. Kentucky routinely was in a light box against Tennessee's run game.
I don't have an answer for that because you're right. I mean, I just mentioned Joe Milton averaged 10 yards an attempt the other night. That has not been Tennessee's offense. They've been 13th in the league in yards per attempt. It's only Auburn has been worse in that. So that begs the question: why are opposing defenses doing? I mean, what are they afraid of? I mean, what have they seen? And you're right. And another kind of squirrely thing about the run game, Hubbard, I think has been impressive is how many different guys have been in and out of the offensive line, and they still lead the SEC in rushing.
Yeah, and Eric, they do it really unique-wise. When a lot of different stuff, it's pulling guards, it's pulling tackles, it's pulling tackles and tight ends. It's really unique from a schematic standpoint that seems like defenses have a hard time grasping sort of what they're doing because it's not just the most physically dominant bull rush or maul the guy across from you, if you will.
Yeah, and I mean, this has been Josh Heupel's offense, at least here at Tennessee that we've covered the last 3 years. It's that type of folding with the tackle, looping up under, going and blocking a linebacker. It's pulling a guard, kicking the end man out on the line of scrimmage. It's taking an H-back, and McCallum Castles, for instance, going across the face of the center and taking a linebacker and putting him in the dirt. I mean, it's really unique. Credit to Glenn Ellerby, Josh Heupel, it's a system and all that, but Tennessee's really good in that regard. Ollie Lane and John Campbell had the down block. It was Gerald Mincy had the down block, and Ollie Lane had the nice kickout block to create that crease for Jalen Wright in his first 52-yard touchdown run. Tennessee's really good in that respect, and so if you're a defensive end, head on a swivel because there's going to be a guy coming and pulling and trying to kick you out, and it's difficult to defend.
You know who I feel sorry for this week? The tackles for UConn and the quarterback. Because they didn't get home last week, and you can bet Tennessee is going to – those defensive linemen are going to be bringing the heat Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think UConn will try to max protect, so we'll see what Tennessee answers. Yeah, and we'll see what their answer is for Tennessee's answer against seven-man, offensive line fronts. In the secondary, they got to tighten some things up. They got to get healthier. Austin, that's why you got to play some youth, in my opinion, early in this game in the secondary. But yeah, that defensive front, I would say Rodney Garner will have them amped up and ready to roll after only getting the one sack and really not getting a lot of pressure. They never made Devin Leary uncomfortable a week ago in Kentucky.
Yeah, and you could just tell when G walked off the field, he was none too happy about that exact stat. Give me one youth guy. One young guy that you want to see, you think we're talking about having had a few splash plays, that's a freshman that hasn't played to this point.
Give me, and I'm going to take your guy, give me Cam Selden. And we talk about this run game all the time and how it's so great with Jalen Wright, Jabari Small, and Dylan Sampson. Haven't seen a whole lot of Cam Selden. Of course, he's on the kickoff return team. This is a great game to see what you have in him, kind of how far he's come since fall camp, and get him some little run there in the second half, no pun intended. See what he can do. I'll take Cam Selden.
Assuming he gets on the field a lot in the second half, which I think he should. Caleb Harry. I'd like to see what can Caleb do. Can he win some one-on-ones and flash it in the backfield?
Well, I think everybody wants to see the quarterback, right? And if he gets on the field, so I think it's about where Nico is. If you're not talking about a first-year player, a freshman player, I want to see where Dante Thornton is back-to-back weeks, right?
Addison Nichols.
And then do we see the D. Williams 3 or 4 offensive snaps
against UConn?
I'm gonna say yes.
I'm gonna say
give
yes.
Give him something to
put a
prepare
little something on film.
Yeah, put something on film.
I can see that.
Put it on film because you're not going to see it again at Missouri. And you're not going to see it against
Georgia. It's a great game to do just that. A great game for D. Williams.
I would say all of the above because I mean, like
I did name everybody.
I'd add Ethan Davis in there. If Alec Eblin gets him to the field, I mean, I think all those names are people that could make plays that haven't made plays. As far as a guy that's that's a year older, I would go Addison Nichols. That's the guy. Tennessee's got to continue to figure out what they have, and Nichols, Masai Reddick, Bison Lane.
And Nichols should be the first one up. He should be the first one up.
because he's the backup to Ollie Lane right now with Andre Kuric out for a significant amount of time. That's it for the Rocky Top Roundtable for this week. We'll be back next week, Missouri week. We'll see you on homecoming over at Neyland Stadium, everybody.